If you struggle with overthinking and beating yourself up, this video is going to be for you, because today I'm talking about how to stop codependent patterns that impact your self-esteem. But first, if you're new, my name's Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships that work. First, codependency is basically a relationship pattern where we look to other people for our love and approval because we can't give it to ourselves. So the first codependent pattern that impacts self-esteem is ruminating over the past. If you're codependent like me, you probably hold on to things for dear life. Your experiences, what happened, what other people said. You have a hard time letting go of the past. Maybe people have hurt you or said things that you can't let go of. And what we end up doing is we end up ruminating and just replaying those conversations over and over in our head. And while that's totally understandable, especially if you struggle with codependency, that's not what I want for you. I want you to be able to get control of those thoughts. This is something I talked about in my recent resentment workshop, because part of what you need to do is learn how to work through those old hurts that are keeping you up at night, because you can get relief. And I'll leave the link in the description of the post in case you want to check it out. But you can start today by making a list of those old hurts, those old resentments and fears that you can't let go of. Because this is how you're going to be able to improve your self-esteem, by catching those negative thoughts so that you can start to find some serenity. Another common codependent pattern that impacts our self-esteem is obsessing over what other people are doing. As codependents, we're fixers, we're helpers, we can't help it. We have huge hearts. And while I definitely want you to preserve that huge heart, I also need you to have boundaries around it and really be mindful of where you're spending your time and energy. Because when we focus on what other people are doing because we think we can help, we can solve their problems, we can make their life easier, a lot of times that's not the case. Me as a therapist, I've tried doing this with certain family members, and even I can't affect change, because people only change when they want to. And when we obsess over what other people are doing, we're robbing ourselves of living our own life. So this is one of those codependent patterns I really need you to pay attention to. Even if it's just for today, I want you to notice, what are you thinking about? Who are you thinking about? How much time are you spending on a particular person? Because that awareness is going to help you to get back into your body and to think about your own life. Because the more we obsess about what other people are doing, the less we're actually able to enjoy what is right in front of us. And that's what I want for you. If you've ever struggled and obsessed over someone else's behavior, say me too in the comments. I'm right there with you. This video is going to help. Now, another really common codependent pattern that impacts your self-esteem is comparing yourself to others. Maybe you're scrolling on social media and you're noticing what other people are doing and how happy they look and how many friends they have, and you wish you could have the same thing. But again, we have to remember, social media isn't real life. Most people put their best foot forward on social media. They want to appear happy because that's part of what social media does, is it reinforces the fun of life, which isn't necessarily bad, but if we're basing our self-worth on what other people are doing, then we're always going to fall short. Because let's face it, there's always going to be someone smarter, prettier, but that doesn't mean you're not special. That doesn't mean that you have unique gifts that nobody else has. And I need you to hear me, because this is true. Even if you're holed up in your house and you feel like you don't have any friends right now, there's something you have to offer the world. Maybe you're really patient. Maybe you're really good with details. Maybe you're an exceptional writer. What are those unique gifts that you have? Because that's how you're going to start to build your self-esteem, not comparing yourself to what other people are doing. And let's face it, most of us compare our weaknesses to somebody else's strengths, which isn't fair either. What you want to do is compare yourself to where you were 5-10 years ago. That's a great comparison, because then you're going to see improvement. You're going to see that, hey, you know what? I have grown. I have developed certain awarenesses, or I've changed certain behaviors, because that's how you're going to get a win when it comes to self-esteem. So another really common codependent pattern that really impacts our self-esteem is expecting other people to know that they've hurt us, even when we haven't said anything. This is super common because we assume that people should know how we feel, right? Maybe we're acting mopey around them, or we haven't called them back and they should just know that we're hurt. When we're hurting, the other person has no idea, and it's really not fair for us to expect them to know because we haven't said anything. And the reason this impacts our self-esteem is that you might be thinking, well, they don't care about me because they don't realize I'm hurting. This isn't about your self-worth, it's about communication. We need to be willing to communicate honestly in our relationships when our feelings are hurt, because that gives the other person a chance to repair it. Maybe we need to work through those hurt feelings by ourselves because we don't feel safe enough to share them with the person who hurt us. Now, another really common codependent pattern that really impacts our self-esteem is negative self-talk. There are certain comments when you struggle with codependency that are super common. Things like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. I'm too much. I'm being too sensitive. I'm never going to be enough. Those kind of low self-esteem statements really reinforce that inner voice that tells us we're no good. But we all have negative self-talk, even people who aren't codependent. And what my challenge to you is to start writing down what those comments are. What is it that you tell yourself? I did this early on in my recovery and I was shocked at how badly I treated myself. Because what we do is we just repeat messages we've heard growing up. We may even use the same derogatory terms. Because when you grow up in a dysfunctional family where you've been called names and you've been judged a lot, that becomes your self-talk, and it's really dangerous because it really impacts our self-esteem, and I don't want that for you. So one thing to do to silence that inner critic and improve your self-esteem is to come up with a mantra, a single statement that says something like, I am enough, I am a good person, God loves me. Something that your brain is going to glob onto as true so that you can calm yourself in the moment and avoid those negative self-talk statements. The other thing you can do is shift your focus from what you're not doing to what you are doing. So for instance, what's one thing you're proud of that you've done this week? What's something you can acknowledge about yourself? Maybe it's your patience. Maybe you're going through a hard time, but you're sticking it out, or you've just started therapy, or you're trying to help an elderly parent and it's really hard, but you're still doing it. What are those things you can acknowledge within yourself? Because that's a really quick way to shift from negative self-talk to positive self-soothing statements. If you get one message from this video, it's this: you are enough exactly as you are. We all are. Healthy self-esteem is being equal to everyone else. We're not better or less than other people. So when you look on social media the next time, don't compare your weaknesses to their strengths. Remind yourself that, you know what, I'm just as good as everybody else, because that's how you improve your self-esteem. Now, another really common codependent pattern is obsessing about what other people think of you. And this is a little bit different than obsessing about others. This is when we're constantly regurgitating what we think they think about us. And let's face it, people are thinking about themselves. And most of the time, they're not thinking negatively about you anyway. And I really need you to hear that, because most of our fears and assumptions are false evidence appearing real. We're assuming the worst because maybe that's what we grew up doing. Or maybe we just think that other people don't like us, but we've never actually checked it out. Now, if you're talking about someone who's narcissistic or toxic, what they think about you is more about them than it is about you. Because oftentimes those are the people who want to manipulate how we feel so that they can control us. I love the saying, don't give other people free rent in your head, especially people who are not supportive. Because again, oftentimes when we're obsessed about what other people think about us, we're wrong anyway, and it's a total waste of energy. So now let's talk about how you can start to increase your self-esteem. What I want you to do is write a list of things you like about yourself. This could be accomplishments, qualities, awards you've won, I want you to really think about at least 10, because usually we don't take the time to really acknowledge who we are and what we've accomplished in life. And that can be a really great way to start shifting your self-esteem. Another thing you can do to improve your self-esteem is to let go of some of that hurt and resentment. And again, when you have a process to do that, that can often free up how we feel about ourselves, because we're letting go of hurtful experiences that are preventing us from feeling happy and enjoying life. Another thing you can do to improve your self-esteem is to notice when you're getting into other people's heads. The minute I jump into somebody else's head, I've lost my serenity, because I am no longer feeling in control of my own life. So when you notice that you're starting to hyper-focus on other people again, bring your attention back to yourself. Take a few deep breaths. Ask yourself, what do I need to do right now to get my serenity back? Because part of codependency recovery is to guard your serenity with your life. And part of how we do that is to stop these negative codependent patterns that are really hurting us. So the next thing I want you to do is I want you to go watch my video on the one question that's going to really define and change your codependent relationships for the better. Thanks so much.